Welcome back, designers, to Silvia Designs. I'm Kat, and in today's video, we are going to add a toggle clasp to a strung bracelet. There are a few things to keep in mind when using a toggle clasp over another style of clasp, and we're going to talk about that in this video. If you're not already, please take this moment to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can see my new videos every Wednesday. Please give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more content just like this. Many of the items you're about to see here can be purchased over at eurekacrystalbeads.com. Use those links down in that description box and use my special code to save 15% off your entire order. All right, let's dive into making our strung bracelet. There is a reason I wanted to focus solely on adding a toggle clasp to a strung design as opposed to any other clasp. It's going to be a little bit different. So for today, I'm using the Beadalon in the 19 strand, and you can see I'm using the gold color because I have all gold findings and I thought it would look really nice as a finished, polished look. I'm using the 0.15 inch or the 0.38 millimeters. So this is the size that I'm using here today. I have my design all strung up, and I'm using some 6mm white howlite beads. I'm using some 6mm turquoise beads, 4mm wood beads, and I have some 8mm rose quartz beads. I have my little toggle clasp here. Now you can get this at Eureka Crystal Beads. I have my two jump rings. Now these are 5mm 20 gauge jump rings. I have my wire protectors, my crimp covers, and my crimp tubes. Now I'm using my little bead stoppers here so that I can move this around without, it falling off the wire. So these are also really great if you do any type of stringing. I'm using my 4-in-1 Xuron crimping pliers here. I have my flush cutters and a pair of chain nose pliers to help me out with those jump rings later. Okay, so if you have everything kind of ready and set to go to add that toggle clasp, follow along. So first things first, let's take a look at my design and why I designed it the way I did. I knew that I wanted to include these large 8mm beads, and I wanted them to be the focal, but more importantly, if you look here at the end, I have added 3, so I interrupted my pattern of every other wood bead. I interrupted that pattern so that this side here will be smaller to fit into the toggle clasp, because anytime you're doing a clasp like this, you have to fit this bar into it, and you see how it's going to have to go and sit where that loop is in order to get it to sort of come back. So we need some smaller beads that are going to be on either side of this. Now you could also just do your smaller beads on one side. I like to have it be a little bit more symmetrical, and I don't think that this is a terrible disrupt to the pattern, but like I said, this is sort of going to be the back, so I've created an area for that clasp to live. Okay, let's go to one side here. I'm going to remove my bead stopper, slip on my crimp tube, and we don't have to slide it all the way down because I can actually use a little bit less wire this way. I'm going to string on my wire protector, and it's like this little horseshoe. So we string it up and back down. And because I'm using a toggle clasp, we don't have to add on our jump ring at this point because it's going to be an open jump ring. So what we want to do is just make sure that that little tail goes right back into that crimp tube. So we have this at the very end. You see how that's working? It's easier to show you on this side with all those beads kind of not getting in the way. Okay, so now we have our little piece here ready to go, ready to be crimped. And remember, if you watched my video on how to use the Xuron 4-in-1 crimpers, we want that teeth side, we want that big V going down. So we're going to set it into our pliers, give it a nice squeeze, see that beautiful V come together, rotate it 90 degrees. So we see that come together and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And if you need a little extra squeeze, you are good to go. Okay, now I want to keep this little tail, but I don't want to keep too much of it. So I'm only going to go through one bead here and let that sit towards the top. And what I want to do is, actually, it's sitting there a little too much. So I do think I am going to use my crimp covers. I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not. but we're gonna bring our little crimp cover in. Kind of sits over your piece like a little, like almost like a little Pac-Man, if you will. So you're gonna hold that, and you can use your chain nose pliers here and just bring that together. Give it a couple little gentle squeezes. We don't want to squeeze too hard on these. We want them to come together so they look like a nice little metal bead. There we go. All right, so now when I scooch that up, I'm going to come in and snip off this tail here. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I wanted to use those crimp covers. I'm glad I had them out. All right, slide that all the way down. So now we have this piece attached. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to scooch my bead stopper there. So I have my piece all done on this side. What I want to do now is I'm going to come in, and this is where we can use those Xuron 4-in-1s. And let me just figure out where my opening is. There we go. Give that a little twist, and now we're going to slip on our bar to this end. So you see how we didn't really have to add our jump ring on earlier. You could have if you wanted to. And just close that up. Okay? So now I like to attach the bar first to make sure this is going to work before I trim off any more of my wire. It's going to slip through, and you see how we kind of have to have those smaller beads there for it to kind of go through and then settle into place. Now you could do even probably even one bead here. I like to have the extra space of bringing in two. And that brings me to my second issue about sizing. If you are going to use a toggle clasp, always go a little bit bigger, because don't forget, when you're putting it on your wrist, you're going to have to cross it over more so, because you're going to have to cross it over probably, I would say, a good 1/2 inch before it's going to settle into place right there. But once you have a nice good tension on it, it shouldn't really be going anywhere. And I actually like that this is a little bit grooved on this. I feel like it kind of gives it a little extra grip. Okay, so all we're gonna do is just repeat that on the other side. Now, because we are doing stringing, we want to make sure that it's not going to get crunched, so I like to keep mine curled in its original kind of position that you're going to wear it in. Slip on our crimp tube. Slip on our little horseshoe here, our wire protector, up and over. Slide it down through our crimp tube. There we go. And now pull everything together. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and slide this right into that wood bead, because I know that I want to at least go through one bead. I never like to trim my wire right up close to the crimp tube. I feel it just, for me, it just gets a little too close for comfort. You know, I don't want anything, I don't want to lose any piece here. All right, so I'm just adjusting and making sure that it's all nice and snug. There we go. Okay, and now crimping and rotating and crimping. There we go. I can slide on my crimp cover. And let's make sure everything is straightened out here. Got a little wonky there. There we go. And squeeze it together. And another little squeeze. Again, making sure that it's not too wobbly. And take your time with this. You don't have to go fast. I know I'm going quickly for the purposes of, you know, saving your time, but there we go. All right, good to go. Now we can trim this off. And to this side here, let's just open up that other jump ring. Slide on the other side. Close it up. And we have our piece. So now you can see that it will come together, come through just a little bit, and then sit back down. I like using the toggle clasp. I think it adds a nice little focal. Also, This clasp is really nice because it balances out the larger beads here in the front. So let me know what you think of this design in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, designers. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It lets me know that you want to see more content just like this. And don't forget, links to the items you've seen here are down in that description box. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. And don't forget to connect with me over on Instagram at @SilviaDesigns so you can catch my live Q&A classes. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.